recurrent guest, and I'm hoping that you will join me in a conversation about PanaFest. Now, this idea was mooted in the 80s by A4 Sutherland. It actually took off in 1992. That makes it 21 years old. The executive secretary in the personality of Kohain Nathaniel Halevi is my guest. He's been holding that position down for 13 years. If you wonder what PanaFest is, what it is and what it's not and what it's done and why and how, and if you think you could enjoy PanaFest, well, then you're going to love this conversation. I'm also going to throw in a bit of history. The Akan diaspora in the Americas. Now, this is a book I hold in my hand. It's not my copy. I have to return it, but not before I have a conversation on it. And basically it tells me that the Akans constituted 10% of all the Africans that were captured and sent into slavery in America. However, the influence of the Akans is much more than 10%. Maybe, just maybe, that is why PanaFest took off in Ghana, in Elmina, in and around Cape Coast, and hasn't gone very far. I've not heard of a PanaFest in Nigeria, in Benin, in Senegal. But why am I doing all the talking when the man who has the plan and his hand on the steer when it comes to the future is right here next to me? Help me say a very warm welcome to Mr. Kohain.
Thank you very
Brother
much.
Brother Kohain, how are you?
I'm good, fine.
Welcome to Sunrise.
Thank you very much.
PanaFest. I haven't heard much of it in quite a while. Yes. Are you surprised?
Yes, I'm surprised.
You're surprised. Okay, I'm just as surprised as you are, because when it took off in the 90s?
Yes, 1992.
In 1992,
yes,
almost everyone knew about it. It was a big deal. Is it still a big deal? Has it grown?
It's still a big deal. You know, when you introduce an idea and a concept, in the beginning, you have to create it in its image and the likeness that you want it to be, and you have to impress it in the minds of people. So certainly at its birth, when it took off, it was a big bang. Ghanaians were being introduced to it for the first time, and Ghanaians introduced it to the whole African world. It was something that was a full government initiative, and government used its full apparatus to introduce the idea and the concept as something that it wanted Ghana and Ghanaians to own, and to be able to project itself to the whole world through the vehicle of PanaFest. So that's why it had such a big bang to it. Of course, at the level that government put in resources to create PanaFest, it was not able to sustain it through continuing to put that amount of resources in it. So we've tried to find a way to find the balance through the private sector investing in it and taking up, the slack that the government could not sustain. So this is why you see that it has not had the same kind of explosion that it had in 1992 and 1994. But certainly it still remains a part of the main fabric of Ghana's cultural heritage tourism.
Wow. That was a long speech. Now, was that a political statement? Was that an excerpt from a thesis that could be academic, historical, social, cultural, or was that an entertainment blurb?
No, it was neither. It was actually an answer to your question and trying to inform your listening, audience too.
Okay, PanaFest. Mm-hmm. What is your image of it? What comes to your mind? How would you like to see it manifest?
Well, I would like to see it as it was intended, that it's a vehicle to be able to allow for Africans in the diaspora to reconnect with the African continent, with Ghana being the gateway and the window for that contact to happen.
Has it succeeded in
yes,
21 years?
It has succeeded, and there is evidence of that success if we measure the amount of diaspora heritage tourism to Ghana prior to 1992, and the fact that Ghana has captured that stage in 2013. We can count a lot of that success to the exposure that PanaFest has given to Ghana, to the diaspora. In 1992 and in the 80s, very few people in the diaspora knew of the Door of No Return in Cape Coast Castle dungeons or in Elmina. The main heritage and cultural destination to Africa for the diaspora was through Banjul, Gambia, Dakar, Senegal. Basically, you had very little knowledge, very little passage of African Americans coming into Ghana, coming into Accra, even the capital. But we have taken that market. Ghana is the number one heritage, cultural, tourism destiny for brothers and sisters in the diaspora who want to reconnect with their African family and their brothers and sisters. And PanaFest can say without fear of successful contradiction that it's played a major role in shifting that market.
Okay, I'm looking at your website, www.panafestghana.org. It says that it's a Pan-African historical theater and festival.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. Diaspora is Pan-African or
yes.
cross-African, trans-African by definition.
Yes.
What about the rest of the African continent, the rest of the sub-region? Do we have participation from Senegal, from Benin, from Equatorial Guinea, from Nigeria?
Yes. The unique thing about PanaFest is that Ghana is the host country, but it belongs to African people, both in the diaspora and on the African continent. So normally we have participation from other African nations, from Nigeria, from Benin, from Le Cote d'Ivoire, from South Africa. We have the South America, Brazil, Suriname. We have the Caribbean, we have the United States of America, we have Europe. So it's something that belongs to the whole African family. That is the Pan-African component. But Ghana is the host country. Ghana is the base. We realize that, I believe its founder, the one who had the original dream, Dr. F. Sutherland, she wanted to also address two major issues. One was the spirit of Pan-Africanism seemed to be waning after, the death of Kwame Nkrumah and so many of our early Pan-Africanists, and people think about Pan-Africanism in a nostalgic way and not in a contemporary way. So she wanted to, do something to help promote Pan-Africanism to the new generation, and at the same token use her own medium that she was proficient in, drama or the arts. So this was a reach out to the whole African family to give a boost to Pan-Africanism and also to explain Pan-Africanism in a meaningful way to a new generation that did not know Kwame Nkrumah, did not know Sekou Touré, did not know His Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie. So the idea of PanaFest was to boost Pan-Africanism and to help to redefine it to a new generation.
Now, this year marks the 21st anniversary of the launch, the official launch, and this is the 10th edition of the festival. So, roughly, it's a biannual festival, once every 2 years.
Yes, it's a biannual festival that takes place every 2 years. We started out on the even year, but ended up on the odd year because in one edition there was a 3-year gap instead of a 2-year gap. So, yes, it happens every 2 years. This is the 10th edition, and it's coinciding with some very significant historical date cycles. This year is also the 50th anniversary of the OAU-AU, the Organization of African Unity, and the African Union. This is also the 50th year anniversary of the death of Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, who was a very profound, Pan-Africanist, and one of some even say the father of Pan-Africanism. And it is also the 150th year of the Emancipation Proclamation, which was the document that was the freedom document for African Americans in the USA. So we have a number of cycles that this year coincides with, which informed us of this year being a special year for PanaFest, also being the 21st year anniversary.
So how am I going to be able to appreciate these special dates and events this year if I come to PanaFest?
You're going to be able to appreciate it by the events that we've lined up highlight these cycles that we have. We just had a wreath laying ceremony at the Du Bois Center, opening up the ceremonies for PanaFest and Emancipation Day with a special tribute to Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois himself. When you come to the Cape Coast on the 27th, this Saturday, His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama will be doing the opening of PanaFest at the Victoria Park in Cape Coast on Saturday. We will have some of the foreign delegations that will be present there, and we'll also, have a portion, a way and a time to display their cultural performances that they have prepared so hard for this year's PanaFest. We have a Women's Day that will be coming on the 30th of July that will be highlighting and outlining how our women, our mothers, our daughters, our aunties can make their realistic contribution to promoting Pan-Africanism. The same thing with the Youth Day. The Youth Day will be on Monday, the 29th of July at the University of Cape Coast. We realize that our youth are a major component. When we talk about African Renaissance, we're talking about renewal, and we're talking about newness. our youth play a very important component with that. So we'll be having a youth day at the University of Cape Coast on Monday, where our young people will be interacting with an intergenerational conference with some of our elders and some of our young people, talking candidly together of how young people can translate Pan-Africanism into their generation and move it forward as the torchbearers of today and tomorrow. And then, of course, we move into more of a reverential tribute to our ancestors on the 31st of July, where we have a reverential evening, where we have a candlelight procession from Infantsipim School up into the Cape Coast Castle. We'll lay a wreath in the dungeons of the male dungeon there and have a 3-hour program lasting from 9 p.m. to midnight, where we'll proclaim Emancipation Day. And then we will celebrate Emancipation Day at Asim Manso on August 1st. And then we will turn back to Accra, to a very interesting session. It will be a high-level forum. This is a AU event that is being hosted by Ghana. And we are inviting some of the high-level former heads of state and even our former heads of state here in Ghana, and our heads of state, sitting heads of state, and foreign dignitaries to come and look at the past 50 years of Pan-Africanism, the Organization of African Unity, and the AU, and more importantly, where do we go and how do we project ourselves in 2063, 50 years from now, and how do we see Pan-Africanism as a tool for development. And that will take place at the International Conference Center in Accra on August 2nd and 3rd. And on the evenings of both the 2nd and the 3rd, we'll have a special dinner that will be at the La Palm, where we hope that some of our foreign dignitaries and some of our major personalities here in Ghana will enjoy that. That is being sponsored by the Diaspora African Forum. And on the 3rd, at the National Theater, we'll have a grand Renaissance concert with some of our top Ghanaian performers, blended with some of our international performers who will be coming here. And so these are just some of the programs that we'll highlight this year. Now, one of the major areas also that we create during the PanaFest season is called the PanaFest Village, where it's the Bazaar Expo, where we have exhibitors who will be exhibiting their wares there at the Center for National Culture in Cape Coast. Every evening we'll have live performances from 7 p.m. Onward. During the day, our vendors will be selling their crafts, selling their goods. So we recognize the economic component of Pan-Africanism. It's not just a political, social ideology, but we must talk about the economic independence and economic viability, of our African future. So we have this Bazaar Expo going on for vendors and entrepreneurs to be able to exhibit their wares and to sell their goods to the African family.
Who is your number one guest? Who are you targeting this year, if any specific target in particular? Because you've mentioned the African continental community, the political and academic community. You've mentioned personal historical voyages to reconnect, and that's the African diaspora, people of African origin living around the world. You've also mentioned indigenous Ghanaians. Who do you think is the most important visitor for you as the Executive Secretary this year?
I think the most important visitors are our brothers and sisters from the diaspora. We're in Africa. We're here, especially Ghanaians. We are the host. We are inviting them. So we are looking for creating and enhancing our facility as a vehicle to invite brothers and sisters from the diaspora who have been disenfranchised from this continent and don't know how to reconnect. They don't have a family telephone number, they don't have a village destination, they don't have a regional destination, and many of them want to reconnect with Africa and they don't know how to start. We think PanaFest is a way of introducing to them the African continent and the African family that they have been separated from. So we're targeting them specifically because they don't know how to reconnect. They don't even know where they're going. They just say they want to come to Africa. We're saying come to PanaFest, and we're your introduction to not only Africa, but the African family.
And in this context, what has been your biggest recurrent challenge over the 13 years that you've been the Executive Secretary of PanaFest?
People investing in PanaFest as an investment and the economic sustaining of the festival. When you mentioned earlier opening about how it started off with a big bang, that big bang was because the government, saw it as an investment and something that was worth investing in, and it put a lot of money into it. And so when
did it yield returns?
It yielded returns.
It did.
It did. When you
good returns.
It yielded good returns. If I was to give you an example, in 1992 when PanaFest began, and we looked at Cape Coast and Elmina being the permanent home, we couldn't find or count 50 good rooms in the hospitality industry in Cape Coast and Elmina between the two of them. Since that time, the diaspora alone has invested in at least 12 hospitality industries in the central region, Cape Coast and Elmina, in terms of hotels and restaurant and recreational facilities. The government invested in the Center for National Culture. It's one of the finest in any of the 10 regions we have in Ghana. The Elmina Beach Resort was as a result of anticipating PanaFest being housed in Cape Coast and Elmina. We have so many returning diasporans who have chosen Ghana to resettle in the last 20 years as an invitation that came through PanaFest from our former president, Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rollins, who invited many members of the diaspora to return back home here, an invitation that has been sustained throughout our succeeding administrations up to the present day, and that invitation has been responded to by many brothers and sisters from the diaspora who have come here and invested, who have come here to try to help make a difference and add their quota to the development of Ghana in general, and specifically to hospitality and tourism. So it has yielded some results. Again, as I said, the biggest result that has yielded is that Ghana has captured the tourism market for the diaspora. Ghana, not only for the diaspora, but Ghana is in the top 10 tourist destinations in the world. So Ghana is not just attracting members from the diaspora, but is attracting tourists. It was not doing that in 92. PanaFest helped to convince the general public outside that Ghana was a safe destination, Ghana was on the move, Ghana was peaceful, Ghana was progressive, and that Ghana can host international festivals, and they will be satisfied in Ghana as a destination.
I think that there are more questions coming from viewers than we actually have time for. But you mentioned earlier on that there are several important anniversaries, 50 years of the AU,
yes,
105 years since the proclamation, the abolition
yes,
of emancipation. 115. We've got 50 years celebration of the life of W.B. Du Bois, and that last one, is it going to play a major role in PanaFest this year?
With the Bois,
the 50 years commemoration of the life of W.B. Du Bois.
Yes, we will be honoring Du Bois throughout the celebration. Every event that takes place, we will also be mentioning his achievements, his contribution to the African world, his contribution to Pan-Africanism. We will certainly celebrate his life and what he's been able to contribute to us as African people in the diaspora as well as on the African continent.
Okay, lots of comments, like I said. Wow, Mr. Rabbi, I like your costume. Where can I get one for my dad? And this is from Siraj Dean Kawute. Dancer Pios thinks PanaFest is very important because it goes a long way to show the rich African culture. Bright Azuguba says, it's actually time we revive our cultural heritage. Big ups to PanaFest. Lots of people asking for the website. I've posted it on the TV3 Sunrise page. You can find it. I've also posted it in response to your request. Pios Dasa wants to know what the sole aim of PanaFest is. I think you've answered that question. It's a great initiative. And what is its legacy? Asks Boga Ali Hashim. That's a good question. What legacy you think the festival should leave along, with its vision? And Malik Afo is asking, questions about culture, food, language, and how do indigenous Africans relate to the brothers and sisters in the diaspora and vice versa in terms of culture, food, and language. I think I have to invite the Kwame Kambon on that topic. And the Akan Diaspora in the Americas, beautiful book by Professor Kwesi Konedo. It's a fantastic book. I hope that you'll be able to get it, or at least look at the excerpt from it. And all you need to do is just look for it on the internet. The Akans in the Diaspora, the Akan Diaspora in the Americas, by Professor Kwesi Konedo. Really interesting book. If you ever wondered what their connections are historically, a lot of it, if not all, is right in here. And coming back to the legacy, what do you think the legacy should be?
The legacy should be that we have reunited as an African family, and PanaFest has helped to make a contribution to making the ideal of Pan-Africanism a reality.
the ideal of Pan-Africanism. You're coming all the way back to Kwame Nkrumah, and his fifth Pan-African Congress in Manchester, way back in 1945, and he said that the independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it is linked up with the total liberation of the African continent. What do those words mean to you?
It means that Kwame Nkrumah was on a mission, and that mission was the total unification and liberation of African people, and that Ghana and its independence was a vehicle to help to forward that mission. And I am a proponent of, believing in the ideal of African people need to understand that Pan-Africanism is not a goal, the end of a goal in and of itself. It's a means to a goal. And that in order for us to be empowered to manage our own affairs and to recreate our own personality in the image and likeness of ourselves, then we need to have that, the power to do that. And it comes to Pan-Africanism, Africans understanding themselves as one people. We still see ourselves in a diverse manner, which is an enrichment, but we need to be able to celebrate the Africanness in us. And I think Kwame Nkrumah was a great orator that had the vision of that and was able to communicate the importance and the significance of us adding value to ourselves as Africans.
Is there a difference between being a Pan-Africanist and being an Afropolitan?
Technically, I would say Pan-Africanism has its own unique definition and quality to itself. And I would say yes, it would pose a difference.
There's a difference between being Afropolitan and being a Pan-Africanist.
Well, I am one that is very comfortable with defining Pan-Africanism, and I would have to have someone who is a proponent of
Afropolitanism.
Yes, Afropolitanism, to be able to see the parallels. I would not say they're synonymous.
Okay, thank you very much. The Executive Secretary of PanaFest, and he's held that position for the past 13 years, giving us a rundown on PanaFest 2013. You can find the link to the event on the TV3 Sunrise page. It's all there. The programs, the commemorations, the dates, the history, anything that you might be interested in. Lots of information on www.panafestghana.org.org. Just click on the link. It's right there on the TV3 Sunrise page.